The word of the kingdom comes to us like a messenger sent from God to a man. He comes as a stranger, introduces himself and his reason for coming. Hello, I am the word of the kingdom and I have come to be your friend. My desire for you is God's desire, that you have peace while in the world. Bend your ear to me, and I'll build your faith in a loving and powerful God and show you how to build a life in this world. Does that sound like good news to you? Is this something that you want to experience for yourself? The stranger's words intrigued the man, so he welcomed him to stay to hear more. The next morning's routine was like any other day. The man's unwavering attention to his work task made him almost robotic. There was no time to appreciate the sun's radiance, the birds' songs, or the miracle of being awakened from an unconscious state. Only time for the cares of the job. His new guest brewed coffee and waited patiently for the man to pass the kitchen. Good morning. Why don't you come sit down for a moment before you head out? I'd like to tell you what God is doing in your life. There's much you have to be grateful for, and thankfulness to God will energize you more than the caffeine in this coffee. Want to hear about it? Maybe later, he said. I'm already behind schedule, and the man was out the door. Now, this guy was an English speaker, but lately he became fluent in complaint. Everything had a problem. Everybody was wrong, but this wasn't true completely. Goodness was there, but he couldn't see it. Had he received words urging to take time from the hustle and bustle of making a life to hear of the Lord's activity in his life, he'd realized that he had more to be thankful for than he had to complain about. The man returned home from work that evening beat and confused. He worked hard for a substantial bonus and he got it, but his complaining continued. While lying in bed, he thought to himself, why don't I feel better? I thought I'd feel better once I got my check, but by the way I feel, it's as if I didn't get a bonus at all. Tired from turning and twisting in his sheets, he headed to the kitchen to fetch some water. Word was sitting at the table. Rough night, huh? Looks as though you've been running around tirelessly looking for something. Do you know what your soul is looking for? You found rewards, accolades, and money, but you haven't looked for spiritual peace. Your soul is looking for God. It needs a message from heaven. It longs to know that there's more to life than waking up, working, and lying awake in bed thinking of going back to work. So why don't you take some time to pull your mind off of work and worship God who gives you the ability to work. Give your mind a break from the pursuit of wealth and pursue God who gives you the ability to get wealth. Pull your mind out of tomorrow's worries about your job, your portfolio, and your money and put it on a loving God who has provided for you. If you give your attention to God's word, it will draw your attention to God's activity in your life. If you will care for God's word, it will care for you. If you nurture God's word, it will nurture you. If you think on God's word, it will give you perfect peace. How about it? That sounds good for a fella with lots of time on his hands, he said, but now isn't the best time for me. This went on for a good while. Word patiently invited the man to hear, and the man patiently said his attention was reserved for other things. After some time, the man no longer heard Word's voice. He didn't even notice Word sitting at the table and sadly failed to realize when Word returned home. They never had that conversation because the man never gave it his attention. His focus on making and sustaining a life, climbing the corporate ladder and gaining wealth distracted him from hearing about the more abundant life available to those who rest in God. My friends, the word of the kingdom is sent to us in love. The Lord knows the cares of this age are temporary. The Lord knows the temptation that wealth gives peace is fantasy. So the Lord sends a word that calls us to trust in the loving and powerful God who created the world in hopes of saving us from the disappointment of entrusting our peace to the things in it. Peace.